So I'm here to help reinforce some principles about MLA. So I'm suggesting while you're watching this video to have access to the last page of the syllabus and the two MLA format sheets. I talked to some of you in conference about this, telling you that I was planning on doing a video reinforcing these principles. So I think it'll be very helpful if you have, again, the last page of the syllabus and the two MLA format sheets which are on the modules. So as far as the MLA goes for an academic argument, there are really three aspects to it. The first is the formatting of the paper itself. And I hope that that was visually reinforced to you pretty well by that last page of the syllabus. I want your last name and the page number in the top right, about a half an inch down, no measuring, on every single page, including your works cited pages, because as I explained to some of you, I spread this out in a linear fashion, and I will be reading your works cited pages to the right of the text when I grade these. The second thing you need on the first page only is your name block, and that's in the top left. Again, first page only, about an inch down. And I'd like to add something to this. I want your full name, Professor Kathy Hoffman, Rhetoric and Writing Studies 200, and then in parentheses after 200, would you please put whether you're Tuesday, Thursday, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday configuration, and also please give me the section number in parentheses next to the 200. That's not MLA, but because I have 5 classes of the 200, it will be very, very helpful to me when I record the grades. And then I need the due date, which, as you all know, is October 2nd, this Friday. And then I like a word count. Some of you have been concerned about going a little over the word count. Don't be. As long as your paragraphs are about 3/4 of a page and you have 10 of those, you're fine. So I'm thinking around 2,000 words. The word count is the first word of the introduction through the last word of the conclusion. In other words, it doesn't include the works cited pages. And then I want a title, and I like a nice title, as I've explained to some of you, and I like a subtitle. That's kind of trending. And then you indent. Make sure everything in your paper is double spaced. Everything is the same font. No italicizing unless required by MLA. No underscoring or underlining. They don't do that at all anymore. And no bolding. I want this to look very professional. So that's the format aspect. The second aspect pertains to, now we're going to one of those MLA format sheets. And this is the one that has the word paraphrase and direct quotation bolded at the very top. And this deals with in-text citations. Every time you quote or paraphrase, and again, I want to remind you, if you quote, keep them short and sweet. But every time you quote or every time you paraphrase, you need to have what is called a parenthetical, because it's in parentheses, citation. And I've told all of you that I want about 3 citations per paragraph. Remember, when you have an academic argument, the whole point is to utilize and maximize and optimize those sources, hopefully about 15 to 20 sources for this project, into your paper. So if you have an introduction or a conclusion, for example, that doesn't have any citations, I consider that a throwaway, because again, it doesn't have that academic quotient that I so need for an academic argument. So it gives you option 1, option 2, and option 3, and this explains to you pretty much how you cite a source. It's normally the name or both names separated by the word and, or the last name et al, that's lowercase et space al, which means more than more to follow. So if you have one author, the last name, two authors, both last names separated by the word and. If you have three or more, it's the first author's last name et al. And the page number of the quote or paraphrase. And as this sheet explains, you have option 1, which is to bookend your citation. I suggest you do this when you paraphrase, because with the quotation marks, you can see where that quote begins and ends with the punctuation marks. With a paraphrase, not so much. And again, you never want more than about a 2-sentence paraphrase, particularly if you've got 3 different sources in each of your body paragraphs. And you all know that you can't cite the first or the second or the last sentence in any paragraph. In other words, your research is in the interior of the paragraph. I suggest this bookending, which is the name at the front and the page number at the last. And I also want to point out that you separate quotes from text with comma. So it says for option 1, according to Dr. John Singer, comma, quote, and then you end the quote, and then we have the parentheses and the page number and the closed parentheses, and then the period goes after the closed parentheses. So don't give me double punctuation. That kind of thing accumulates and, again, corrupts the professionalism of the paper. We want to keep these as clean as we can. Or you have option 2, which is less frequently used, which is the front end. Continuing on this MLA format sheet, Dr. John Singer, parentheses 71, close parentheses, asks, comma, quote, and then we have the question. Not so frequently used, but some students stylistically like to do this. And again, with quotation marks, it's not a concern where it starts and where it stops. One of the things that you want to be very aware of when you are citing is that I know exactly where your quote or your paraphrase starts and stops. And so you need to get a little clever, particularly with a paraphrase, and use transitional words or pronouns. So again, it's very, very clear. If you have, say, 21 sources, as some students said they have, that you are going to be using in this paper, quoting or paraphrasing from 21 different sources, is going to be kind of a mess, again, if I don't know who was saying what for how long. And then your third option, probably the most frequently used, is the back end. And here we have option 3 in the United States today. Obesity is the second most significant cause of death. And then we have the parentheses, last name, close, last name, page number, close parentheses, and the period. Again, if you have a back-ended paraphrase, you are only legal, and I say this, you are only legal for 1 sentence. If you've got 2 sentences of paraphrase, bookend it. So I see where it starts and where it stops. And then I give you the exceptions. Sometimes you don't have an author. If you have an unsigned article, and I talked to some of you about this, in an unsigned article, you don't have an author. So on the works cited page, perhaps the article begins with daycare decade. So that would be alphabetized with the D's on your works cited page, and you just give me the name of the article in quotation marks and go on and finish the citation. Give me the name of the newspaper, for example, and the military date and the pagination and ProQuest. In text, I need the first word or words. So whatever is in text matches up with the first word or word on the works cited page, so they're easy to find. So in text, I don't have an author's name, daycare decade, as it is on the sheet, or the first 2 words of that title. Give me just the first 2 or 3 words, but in quotation marks, or I'll think it's somebody's very funky last name. And then pagination A4, that's obviously a newspaper before I even looked at the works cited. So I'll go to the works cited page and I will see alphabetized with the D's. Again, daycare decade in quotation marks, or the entire name of the article, the name of the newspaper italicized, military date, lowercase p, A4, or if it's A4 through A5, or if it starts on A4 and skips, it would be A4 plus, and then ProQuest italicized. And if there's no page number, don't give me a page number, but you should have, since you're using all analog sources, meaning books or dissertations or peer-reviewed journals or magazines or newspapers, and you are going to the subscription services, ProQuest, EBSCOhost, you should have pagination in text. In text, it's the page number of the quote or paraphrase. And then again, if you have two works by the same author, I need not only the last name of the author and the page number, but I also need the first couple of words of either the name of the dissertation or the name of the book, both would be italicized, or the name of the article in quotation marks. So I can know which, say, of Dr. Ruth Bayer's article you are quoting from, if you have two. On the works cited page, instead of putting Bayer, comma, Ruth, it would simply be a dash, dash, dash. So it's a nice visual. I can instantly see how many sources by the same person. And then finally, I've already explained that if you have two authors, as it is here, Morrison and Becker, or three or more, Brown et al., and the page number. And that will be expressed exactly like that on the works cited page. Lastly, so we have the formatting, we have the in text, and then we have the works cited page. Number 1, 2, and 3, make sure your works cited pages, and you'll have two if you have 15 to 20 sources, certainly, are on separate pages. I don't want half of the conclusion on the first half of the works cited page. Again, I'm reminding you that I read your text with the works cited pages to the right. So every time I come to a citation, including the introduction, I then match it with its mate on the works cited page, so then if I wanted, I could go track it for whatever reason. To let you know, by the way, getting back to the in-text, in your Lester book, Chapter 11 covers everything you wanted to know about in-text. And those pages are, again, kind of sidebar here, the in-text, the sheet that we were just talking about. The corollary in the Lester book are pages 187 to 199. 187 to 199, that's chapter 11. And that explains everything there is to know about in-text. Now we flip, or in your circumstances, maybe just looking to the other MLA format sheet. This is sampling of chapter 14. Chapter 14 in your Lester book, those would be pages 251 to 270, alphabetize every possible source you could have. And I have given you a sampling of the ones you are going to be using in this course. There is the citation for the book. It's the last name, comma, first name, the name of the book italicized, the publisher, and the year. Now, if there's nothing that appears after the year, I'm assuming it's print on your lap, literally. If you got it from one of the subscription services, which is the only other venue you're allowed in this course, it will have ProQuest italicized after the year. In text, it would be the last name and the page number of the quote or paraphrase. Dissertation, if we move down, the last name, comma, first name, alphabetized with the last name, which in this case is hyphenated Patel McCune, and then the first name. The name of the dissertation italicized, the word dissertation, capital D, the university, the year, and then if you got that from ProQuest, ProQuest has a whole archive of dissertations, it would be ProQuest italicized. In text, it would be the last name and the page number of the quote or paraphrase. Journals, very last citation. This is Klofstad, comma, Casey A. et al. That means there are three or more. The name of the article. Make sure you get those caps up if they're all lowercase, and if they're all capped, get them down. I want them all to look very standard. Name of the journal. And journals have a volume number, lowercase VOL, and the number, and a lowercase NO, the issue number. And then the pagination, so I can see how many pages